Okay, it looks like we're ready to begin. So. Okay, so we'll begin to this morning service with the ringing of the concho, which is the calling bell to let everybody know that we'll be beginning today's service.
Hyo Byakumo, intention of the service today. In the presence of Amida Buddha, which we experience as wisdom and compassion, light and life, we gather here today to commemorate the spring Ohigan, Shunki Higan E. We gather to reflect on the nature of our true selves, hidden deeply beneath our ego self. As we gather for our first in-person family service in over 2 years, let's take this time to listen together as fellow travelers on our Jodo Shinshu path for the purpose of finding inner peace and happiness. O traveler with mind that is single, with right-mindedness, come at once. I will protect you. Have no fear of plunging to grief in the water or fire. The traveler, having heard the exhortation on his side of the river and the call from the other, immediately acquires firm resolution in body and mind and decisively takes the path, advancing directly without entertaining any doubt or apprehension. May the light on the altar guide us toward Amida's vow of awakening. May the beauty of the flowers symbolize Amida's compassion that surrounds us. We humbly join our hands together in Gassho and recite the Nembutsu in gratitude of the oneness of Amida's wisdom and compassion. Namo Kie Butsu, Namo Kie Ho, Namo Kie So. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Please join me in Gassho, Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Namo.
Well, thank you very much, Reverend Smithy and Reverend Laverne, for leading us in the Sambujo and the Hyo Byakumon, and to Reverend Honda for ringing the kansho for us. Again, my name is Ralph Honda. I am the chairperson for today's service, and welcome. Welcome back. I have a question for Dharma School students. I know there's some Dharma School students in the attendance today, and the number is 742. Can any of Dharma School students tell me what the number 742 is significant? What it signifies? Anyone? No? What was that? Did someone say? No? Well, 742 is the number of days that we have not been able to hold an in-person family service at the temple. 742 days. That's quite a while. The last time that we were able to meet was on Sunday, March 8th. Of 2020. After that, for the next 16 months, our doors were closed. We didn't have Hanamatsuri, no bazaar, no mochitsuki, no Dharma school. So you kind of get the idea what it was like for the last 2 years. But through the efforts of technology, Dharma School was able to continue with its services, and through the efforts of the technology group, and with messages provided by Kenji Sensei, they were able to share the Dharma with everybody through videos. So here we are today. Well, I'll take that back a little bit. Then in July of 2021, we slowly began to reopen. We had our Hatsubon service here, and then which was followed by the Obon service and the Bon Odori in the parking lot. And then for Bodhi Day of last year, we had invited our senior members of the temple to come out and experience an in-person service. But today is our first official reopening for the entire Sangha. And it just happens to be on the first day of spring, which is our observance of Ohigan. So today, Ohigan is the observance of the spring equinox. And this is the time of the year when the days are equal in length. And spiritually, Higan refers to as the other shore. This shore is the life that we live today, now, in a world of ignorance and suffering. And the other shore is the land of the Pure Land of enlightenment and peace. We'll also observe Ohigan later in the year in the fall. At this time, we will have the chanting of the Jusei led by Reverend Smith, and the words for the Jusei can be viewed off of the television monitor.
Gagon Chosegan Ishimu Jodo Shigan Fumanzok Sefujo Shogak Gao Muryoko Fuida Seshu Fusai Shobingu Sefujo Shogak Ashi Jobundo Myosho Chojipo Kukyo Mishomon Sehujo Shogak Ryokujin Shonen Jo Eshu Bongyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Teninshi Jinriki Endaiko Husho Musaido Shoujo San Kumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kai Daihichiegen Meshikon Moan Seishoku Tsudan Zen Shumon Kosojo Manzok Iorojipo Nichigan Shujuki Tenko Ompugen Ishukai Hozo Koseku Dokuho Jodai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai But Gusoku Shutoku Hon Kane Shinjoman Toku Isan Gai O Nyobuten Mugechi Tsudaten Mihusho Gangaku Erik Toshi Sai Shoson Shiganya Koka Daisen Okando Oku Shotenin Touchin Myoke Namandabu 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 Kanishiku Yodo Seisai Don Bodai Shin Ojo An Rako. Gasho Namandab 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 Namandab.
Thank you very much. At this time, we will have Gasho Oshoko offering by temple representatives. Beginning with the Dharma School students and staff, Mateo Mascola and Lisa Umekubo. Sangha Teens, Sage Seymour. Junior YBA, Ava Yamamoto. The Young Adult Buddhist Association, Kimberly Cruz. The Adult Buddhist Association, Greg Yonakura. The Buddhist Women's Association, Moni Ryan. Taiko Group, Chelsea Koga. Representing the Komon, the former temple presidents, Joyce Teague. And representing the Buddhist Temple of San Diego, Luann Lee. Thank you very much. I'd like to call upon Laura Yoshida to come forward to lead us in the recitation of the three treasures.
The three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from the suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, Hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Next, we will have Reverend Laverne's Dharma message.
Are we able to share? Okay. Let me know when the screen is up.
I sense that they'll be ready to share your slides, but you'll need to turn on the switch on the mic. Can you hear me now? It is so wonderful to be back and to see all of the Sangha, but for me too, especially the children. Can you wave to me? Can I wave to you? We have quite a few children here today from Dharma School. So our gathering is to hear the Dharma, and I love going to the children's services because some of the Dharma teachings, some of the Dharma talks are stories and they're books. And I found one that is, I believe, especially relevant for today's service, which is Ohigan. Ohigan is the other shore, and it is a time for us to really sit back, take a deep breath, and reflect. Let me know when you're ready. Ready? Okay. So the name of the book that I have chosen to share with you today is called What the Road Said, and it's by an author by the name of Cleo Wade. So, my eyes are old, so I have to make my screen bigger, but I'm going to read this to you, and you can read along with me and enjoy the pictures. Have you ever wanted to go in a different direction? Have you ever wondered if there was something more, something out there, something just different? I did too. Then one day I was walking my usual way home when, out of nowhere, for no reason at all, almost as if it were magic, a road appeared. I couldn't believe my eyes, so I walked over to it and I said to the road, "Where do you lead?" The road said, and I'm going to change the word leader to a follower on the Shin path. So the road said, be a student and a leader and find out. How do I start? I asked. The road smiled and said, you have already started. And do you see the way the road curves? It looks like a smile, right? Well, what happens when I get there? We've just begun, said the road. Don't skip straight to the ending. Enjoy the beginning and the middle too. Well, which way do I go? That is your choice to make, said the road. But what if I go the wrong way? The road curved a little, almost as if it was giving a hug, and said, don't worry. Sometimes we go the wrong way on our way to the right way. What if I get scared? That's okay. You're brave, said the road. But what does it mean to be brave? I asked. The road guided me through a very gloomy forest. Even though I was frightened, I trusted the road, and as I took one step and then another step after that, the road gently whispered, being brave is when you are afraid of doing something, but you do it anyway. Do not let what scares you keep you from continuing on your path. Will I always move forward? Not always, said the road. Well, why not? Because sometimes you'll stumble backward and sometimes you will stand still. What if I fall? Everyone falls at some point, said the road, but I'll always be there when you land. What if I grow weary or get hurt? What if I get lost? There may be some days that feel long and dark, said the road, but I promise that no matter what, I'll give you the evening stars and morning sun to light your way. Okay, now, what if I grow weary or get hurt? I'll give you trees of all shapes and sizes to shelter you when you need to rest and heal, said the road. What if I get lonely? You are never alone, said the road. Well, what if I change? Come with me, said the road. And as I moved forward, the road introduced me to a caterpillar and a family of seeds. We didn't stay long. The road began taking me on a journey through the seasons. I watched summer turn to fall and fall turn to winter, and as spring was upon us, like it is now, I realized we had gone in one big, beautiful circle. I looked down and found I was standing in a forest of the caterpillar and the seeds once more. Only the caterpillar was no longer a caterpillar, and the seeds had turned to flowers of every color swaying in the sun. The road then raised me up and said, all things grow and change. We learn about impermanence, don't we? That is the magic of being alive. You too will find your wings. You too will bloom. No living thing is meant to stay the same. What if I need help on my journey? Ask your fellow travelers along the way. And we today here are all fellow travelers. What if they are mean to me? Lead them to kindness, said the road. How? By being kind. What if they want to fight? Lead them to peace, said the road. But how do I lead them to peace? By listening to their stories, telling them yours, and reminding them that you are all on this journey together. What if the world around us is filled with hate? Lead it to love. How? By sharing the power of your love, By sharing the power of your love with it, said the road. What if something unexpected happens? Keep going. What if there are mountains that feel too tall to climb? What if there are rivers that feel too wide to cross? What if I get my heart broken? What if I feel stuck? What if giving up is easier? Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, said the road. What if I can't do it? You can, said the road. How do you know? Because you have come this far, said the road. I said to the road, where do you lead? The road said, be a leader, be on the path, and find out. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. And I want to read the author's note because I think that this was important. And the author, Cleo, says, "Dearest you, I wrote this book in hopes that the road can be your friend through every stage of your journey." And when I read that word road, I think of our Shin Buddhist path as our road. I hope you will allow it to live with you in the world as a hug on your good days, and also in the days when you might feel alone or scared or confused by big questions. And there were a lot, weren't there, during this period of COVID. I wrote these words to encourage you, love you, and help you on your path to becoming who you are. You are important. You are here on purpose, and you deserve to be the leader of your life. This is a book for children. I really needed this book as a child, the author says, but this is also a book for adults. Being a grown-up is hard, and the road reminds me to take it one day at a time. From my heart to yours, this book is for you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So have a wonderful first day back and enjoy your Dharma School friends today. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Reverend Laverne, on such a very nice and appropriate reading of the book on the road for all of us to contemplate and understand as part of our daily lives. At this time, I would like to call upon Scouts Cassidy Mudoka and Andrea Covarrubias as they will read our pledge.
Okay. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I will share warm and speak gentle words, warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall act and think with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha.
Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Scouts, thank you for sharing the reading of our pledge, which was written by our Gomonshu, Kojun Otani. At this time, I would like to call on our temple president, Luann Lee, for words of appreciation.
Whoa. Good morning, everyone. I can't believe we're actually here today. So happy to see so many people as we observe our spring Ohigan after being away from the temple so long. On behalf of the temple, I would like to thank Sensei Laverne for officiating today's service and taking time out of her busy schedule to prepare and present such meaningful messages for our Dharma School students and for our Sangha. Also, appreciation to her for organizing the service. Thank you to Sensei Smitty for assisting in the service, and Yukari Williams for providing the flowers, Reverend Honda for the kancho, and to the ministerial assistance team for all their support this morning. We give thanks to Ralph Honda for chairing today's service, our organist Ann Ong, Laura Yoshida for her reading of the Three Treasures, and to Andrea Covarrubias and Cassidy Muraoka for the reading of our pledge. Special thanks to Bill Teague and Ken Morioka for making sure the service is available to view from home. It was so nice to see all the temple representatives in person here today. Thank you for your dedication and support, not only today, but throughout these past 2 years. You have kept the temple groups going with your leadership. In closing, we want to give deep gratitude to you, the Sangha, for your generous donations and constant support to the temple. We really, truly could not have made it without you, without any fundraising and things that we do normally, so we really appreciate it. And just a reminder to please join us after the temple service for hospitality. It will be in the annex. And also for those internees, if they're here to sign the flag, we'll be downstairs by the parking lot. Okay, so welcome everyone, and so happy you came. Thank you.
Thank you, Luann, for your words. At this time, I have several announcements to make. Well, Luann mentioned about the 48-star flag signing event today, and that's for those who were incarcerated in internment camps during World War II, and for the servicemen and women who are involved in the 442nd Combat Unit and during the Korean Wars. And that will take place from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. downstairs, outside parking lot. And also, if you're not able to stay for that opportunity, there will be another flag signing event on Wednesday, March 23rd from 10:30 to noon at the Vista Buddhist Temple. Our next in-person hybrid service will be on Sunday, April 10th, which is when we observe Hanamatsuri. The service will begin at 10 a.m. and our guest speaker will be Reverend Blaine Higa from the Kona Honganji Temple in Hawaii. Reverend Higa will provide a pre-recorded message that we will be able to view on the screen for that service. Also for that service, the Dharma School is requesting a donation of floral and monetary donations for the purchase of flowers so they can decorate the Hanamido. So if you're able to make such donations, you may make your donations to the Dharma School. And then speaking of the Dharma School, they encourage the Sangha to come out for the Hanamido decoration on Saturday, April 9th, starting at 1 p.m. Hanamatsuri is always a big day for us, so that day we're also planning to have our New Year's party that day. So if you receive the information and if you haven't ordered your bentos for the New Year party, tomorrow is the deadline. So if you'd like to order your bentos today, there are order forms in the back of the Hondo or downstairs in the office. So please fill out the form. The cost is $25 for either a regular or vegetarian bento. And then, oh yes, the beautiful flowers. As you leave the Hondo today, the scouts will be passing out beautiful orchids that were donated to us from Mrs. Asako Morinaka and her son Ronnie. Mrs. Morinaka, if you don't know, is our eldest Sangha member. So, and each year she donates beautiful orchids. So please be sure to take a spike orchid with you upon leaving today. And then, of course, following the service, join us in the annex for hospitality. And then the wearing of masks in the annex is recommended. So it's recommended, but of course, if you feel comfortable wearing it throughout that time, you're welcome to do so. And obviously, you'll have to take off your mask while you're eating and drinking. And then, of course, any other activities or announcements can be found in the April Busse script, which will be coming out later this week. At this time, I'd like to excuse the Dharma School so they can attend their activity down in the Sangha Hall. So students, if you'd like to come up and Oshoko, Gasho Oshoko, and then proceed to the Sangha Hall with your teachers for the activity. It's nice to see all of our so many of our Dharma School students here today. As Reverend Laverne said, it's been a couple of years, and some of them, they're as you can see, the students are much taller today, which is nice. They're all growing up. Okay, thank you. We will now continue on with the adult portion of the service and invite everyone to recite the recitation of the Vandana Ti Sarana, or the homage of the three refuges. And that the words are up on the screen.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Kie So. Gasho Namandab, 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 Namandab.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty. At this time, Reverend Laverne will share her Dharma message.
Please join, technology. Please join me in Gasho as I read a passage from the parable of the two rivers. O traveler, with mind that is single, with right-mindedness, come at once. I will protect you. Have no fear of plunging to grief in the water or fire. The traveler, having heard the exhortation on his side of the river and the call from the other, immediately acquires firm resolution in body and mind and decisively takes the path, advancing directly without entertaining any doubt or apprehension. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Before I start my Dharma message, I just want to share that I am just so gratified to see so many faces today and to have had the children join us. And you can see kind of emptied, maybe about a third of the Hondo as they departed. So it's really nice that we have such an active Dharma school. And that is thanks to not just the children and their parents, but also to our wonderful staff of teachers. So they're not here, but I do want to thank them. And I also want to give some recognition. Did you notice that the chanting kind of coming from this side of the Hondo was particularly loud? I want to recognize and really give my thanks to the chanting group who are here today. I would make you stand up, but I think one or two of you might rebel and not stand up, so I won't. I'll spare you that. But we started meeting about 2 years ago when COVID started, and we met on Zoom every Saturday. And there's a group of regulars who always showed up, and we had to kind of improvise a little bit. We tried to all chant together, but Zoom doesn't allow you to do that. So we had to do one at a time, but I think it was very good because it gave each of us, I think, a lot more confidence in our chanting. And so I want to thank you. This COVID was really hard, but there were some opportunities that came out of it that for me were very much a blessing. So my name is Laverne Imori, and I have the very good fortune of being here at the Buddhist Temple of San Diego and for being supported by so many wonderful people. And I want to thank Luann, the board of directors, their leadership for allowing us to come back. There were a lot of questions that needed to be answered, a lot of meetings that happened before all of this today happened. So thank you very much. Ohigan services in our tradition occur twice a year, around the time of the spring and fall equinox, when daylight and nighttime hours are equal. And many cultures celebrate the equinox to remind them of the deep connection to the rhythms and the cycles of nature, of the world and of the universe. And as Ralph mentioned, the translation of Ohigan is the other shore. And it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for crossing from this shore of ignorance, anger, and greed, the shore of samsara, to the other shore of peace and happiness, the shore of nirvana. It's a time that's meant for us to reflect on the nature of our true selves, which is really hidden beneath our ego selves. And, Shinran Shonin referred to himself as Bombu, right? Ignorant, foolish being. Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, as most of you know, maybe some of you don't, but Jodo Shinshu Buddhism is part of the larger Mahayana tradition. It's the path of the Bodhisattva, the path of persons who aspire to become a Buddha, an awakened being. And this Bodhisattva path provides us with the 6 paramitas, which are activities to help us transcend the narrow perspective of our ego selves and to guide us to the other shore. And we know these 6 paramitas as dana, generosity. And I want to thank Arturo and the Dana group for manifesting that. Sila, discipline, meaning to joyfully practice the Dharma in everything that we do. Kshanti, patience, to maintain an equilibrium in the midst of the confusion of this life of samsara that we lead. Vidya, exertion, to overcome idleness and work hard and to not give up. And I think we heard that in the story that was read to the children. Don't give up. Dhyana, meditation. It's the body and the mind, the kokoro, right? The heart and the mind together, synchronized, to cut through the distractions that we deal with every day and to quiet our minds, quiet it by being mindful. Prajna, wisdom. As wisdom cuts through mistaken beliefs about reality, compassion rises naturally. The teachings, however, of Ohigan, going to the other shore, it's somewhat paradoxical because although we aspire to cross over from samsara to the other shore of nirvana, when we get there, this is what I'm told, not there yet, but when we get there, when we arrive, what arises with it is a realization that there isn't an other shore that's very distant, that's very far from this shore of samsara. We make the journey, or we aspire to make the journey to the Pure Land. But when we arrive, we understand that the Pure Land was there all along. We just needed to awaken to the realization. For myself, the awakening to this realization is the path that I aspire to. And I'm going to guess that most of you have heard this story before, but I'm going to share it anyway. And it's the story of the parable of the 2 rivers, also known as the parable of the river of fire, the river of water. But because you're all big people, I don't have any pictures to share with you today during my Dharma talk. Just have to kind of look at me and listen to what I'm saying. So, although most of you, as I said, have heard the story before, I find that most times, for myself anyway, I have to hear that same story repeatedly before I begin to truly hear the story and begin to understand the lessons or the purpose behind that story. You know, as Shin Buddhists, some of our practice, I've heard, is called mompo. That means deep listening. We learn and absorb through sharing of and listening to the Dharma. So that's why these gatherings, we've been really lucky to be able to have the internet so that we can, log into the internet and listen to a lot of different Dharma messages. But this, for me, is very special. There is an energy that I feel from all of you, an anticipation, the excitement, the energy of being together to hear the Dharma. This, for me, I think especially with COVID, has become even more important. So let me go back to the story, the allegory, as it's presented. This was presented by Shantao, one of our 7 masters in the lineage identified by Shinran Shonin. Shantao lived somewhere between 600 and 680 AD. So here's my story, as he tells it. Suppose there's a traveler journeying 100,000 li, that's a direction like miles, toward the west. Then when suddenly along the way, he comes upon 2 rivers in a single channel. One of fire extending southward, and one of water extending north. And so envision, okay, this here, this side of the Hondo is the river of fire. This side is the river of water. This in the middle is the single white path. But imagine, okay, so here the river of fire is, the fire flames are leaping. Here the water is just crashing, 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 threatening. And this path, this white path, is only 4 or 5 inches wide. And the path from one bank here, let's say that's the eastern bank, to the western bank, is about 100 paces in length. Now some of your single paces are way longer than mine, but I'll just use my pace as the measure. So not very long. So the billows of water are surging over the path, and the flames are sweeping up to scorch it. Water and fire alternate without a break. It's just constant. This traveler has already journeyed deep into the vast and solitary wilderness. There's no one to be seen, but bands of brigands and wild beasts lurk there, and seeing the traveler alone, they vie with each other to kill him. Fearing for his life, the traveler at once flees towards the west. It's coming this way. When, without warning, the great river appears, and he thinks, I can see no end to this river, either to north or south. In the middle is a white path, but it's very narrow. Although the 2 banks are but slightly separated, how is it possible to cross? Assuredly, this day I shall die. If I turn back, brigands and wild beasts will press closer and closer upon me. If I run north or south, beasts and poisonous insects will contend with each other to attack me. If I venture on the path westward, surely I will plunge into the 2 currents of water and fire. There are no words to express the terror and despair that fill the traveler at this point. And he thinks further to himself, if I turn back now, I die. If I remain here, I die. If I go forward, I die. There's no way for me to escape death. Therefore, I choose to go forth, venturing on this path. Since this path exists, it must be possible to cross the rivers. When this thought occurs to him, he suddenly hears the encouraging voice of someone on the eastern bank. O traveler, just resolve to follow this path forward. You will certainly not encounter the grief of death, but if you stay where you are, you will surely die. And it's said, I digress a little, it's said that that voice from the eastern shore was the voice of Shakyamuni Buddha. Further, someone on the western bank calls to the traveler and says, "O traveler, with mind that is single, with right-mindedness, come at once. I will protect you. Have no fear of plunging to grief in the water or fire." The traveler, having heard the exhortation on his side of the river and the call from the other, immediately acquires firm resolution in body and mind and decisively takes the path, advancing directly without entertaining any doubt or apprehension. When he has gone but 1 or 2 paces, the brigands on the eastern bank call out to him, "O traveler, come back. That path is treacherous and permits no crossing. You're certain to meet your death. None of us, we promise, will threaten you with evil intent." The traveler hears the voices calling to him, but he doesn't glance backwards. Thinking only of the path, the traveler advances directly forward with the mind that is single and forthwith reaches the western bank, free forever of all afflictions. And he meets his good friend, Amida Buddha. The voice of Amida Buddha was calling from this shore. And the traveler's joy is boundless. This is the parable. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So, again, most of you have heard this story. And when I reread the story in preparation for our Ohigan service today, I thought about the past 2 years where I have personally experienced anxiety, fear, and lots of confusion. It's been a time, certainly, of uncertainty, isolation, and loss. Almost 2 years to the day, we held our last in-person weekly Sunday service. So this service for me is very special. 2 years ago, I traveled to Hawaii for my nephew's wedding, and I returned to San Diego on March 10th, 2020. That happened to be the day of my mother's 100th birthday, and our family had planned a celebration in San Diego on the weekend of March 28th. We expected about 60 family and friends to join us from all over, flying in from Seattle, from Minnesota, Texas, Florida, and of course, Hawaii. But we had to make that decision to cancel the party before, we actually canceled it before everything began to shut down, because we wanted to avoid any kind of potential exposure to my immunocompromised mother and also several of her other elderly friends. Fast forward to September of 2020, the same year, my mother was admitted into a hospice care program. That year, there was no Halloween trick-or-treating, no children, no Thanksgiving gatherings where families get together to share a meal and to give gratitude, to give thanks. There was no Christmas gathering, no New Year's celebration. And then on March 10th of 2021, last year, we celebrated my mom's 101st birthday. We celebrated on Zoom calls. We were able to celebrate in person with her hospice aides and her nurse. We all, of course, had masks on. So my mother lived a very long life. And as I mentioned earlier, on Saturdays for the past 2 years, this group of wonderful fellow travelers and friends, we got together every Saturday at 1 o'clock on Zoom to chant Shoshinge, sometimes some other of the sutras. And we scheduled a regular chanting session. And although my mother had started to weaken during the past couple of weeks, I joined in the chanting, which started just after 1 o'clock. I set up my laptop in my mom's room. She always liked to listen. And so I set up my laptop in Mom's room. She passed away that Saturday, July 24th at 1:30 p.m. Our Shoshinge group, chanting group, quite unexpectedly, became part of a Makuragyo service as she took her last breath, hearing you all chant Shoshinge. And I take great comfort knowing that the last thing that my mother heard was our group chanting. That was the last thing that she heard as she took her last breath. That was my own most significant personal experience and story during this COVID-19 pandemic. I know that others of you have suffered losses during this time. I know that all of you have suffered through anxiety and confusion during these past 2 years. I know that each of you have your own story. I hope that you'll take some time this week, during this week of Ohigan, to deeply reflect on your own experiences and how those experiences can help you realize the nature of your true self. Because for me, the gift of being with my mother, for caring with my mother, truly forced me into a situation of reflecting upon myself. And so I ask you to consider the parable of the two rivers and your own journey on the Nembutsu path. So please join me in Gassho. O traveler with mind that is single, with right-mindedness, come at once. I will protect you. Have no fear of plunging to grief in the water or fire. The traveler, having heard the exhortation on his side of the river and the call from the other, immediately acquires firm resolution in body and mind and decisively takes the path, advancing directly without entertaining any doubt or apprehension. Thinking only of the path, he advances directly forward with the mind that is single and forthwith reaches the western side, free forever of all afflictions. He meets his good friend, Amida Buddha, and his joy is boundless. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu.
Reverend Laverne, thank you very much for your very insightful Dharma message for our first in-person service in over 2 years. Thank you for sharing Chantal's parable of river and fire and how your reflections of how the challenges of COVID probably have affected all of us during this time. At this time, I'd like to invite the Sangha to rise for the singing of the Gatha Ondok-san. And of course, the words will appear on the screen. Yo Please remain standing for a closing meditation. May the wisdom of the all-compassionate one so shine within our hearts and minds that the mists of error and the foolish vanity of self be dispelled. So shall we understand the changing nature of existence and reach spiritual peace. Gasho, Namo Amitabs, Namo Amitabs, Namo Amitabs, Namo Andabs, Namo Andabs. Thank you. You may be seated. You know, earlier today I forgot to mention that since this service is being live streamed, it's also being recorded. So I'm sorry for not announcing that earlier. So our upcoming services for next Sunday and April 3rd will be the Dharma School will offer their all Dharma School service on Zoom. So if you'd like to catch that service, you can contact the temple for the Zoom link. And then the Dharma Message will be posted on the temple's YouTube channel for the next 2 Sundays. And you can also request the link for those messages as well. And then, of course, our next in-person service hybrid will be on Sunday, April 10th, which is Hanamatsuri. Okay, well, thank you very much for attending today's service. It's very nice again to welcome all of you back in person. Thank you for your understanding with the protocols that we've put in place for the safety of all of our Sangha members. The temple will continue to monitor the situation as close as possible. And of course, there will be updates on how we proceed with conducting in-person services. So with that, I'd like to close this today's service with Gasho, and then everyone is invited to come forward to Gasho Oshoko, and then you may proceed to the annex hall for hospitality and light refreshments. So closing Gasho. Namo Amitabs. Namo Amitabs. Namo Amitabs. Namo Amitabs. Namo Amitabs. Thank you very much for attending. And please come forward for Oshoko.